Well, good evening, everyone. My name's Aaron Morey. I'm the CEO of the Chamber of Minerals and Energy WA, and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you all this evening for the launch of the Miners Promise Impact Report. I'd like to acknowledge that we meet on the lands of the Whadjuk Noongar Nation, pay my respects to elders past and present. I would also particularly like to acknowledge the Executive Director of Miners Promise, Debbie Morrow, and their Board of Directors. And it's also really special that we have so many industry representatives here today, because whilst CME is very proud to host Miners Promise, this is an institution that is deeply supported across our entire sector, and we're very proud of that. And so very proud to have representatives from the WA Mining Club, to have David Parker, the WA Executive Director for the Minerals Council of Australia, to have Jeff Miller, the CEO of the Australian Drilling Industry Association, and to have Warren Pearce, the CEO of the Association of Mining and Exploration Companies. This is very much a sector-wide initiative, and we're very proud to be part of that, and we're very proud to stand alongside the other industry groups in support for this significant institution. I'd also like to recognise that we have senior representatives from Minister Michael's office here today. We have representatives from WorkSafe and the Department of Local Government, Industry Regulation and Safety. The Miners Promise, welcome. Ours is a dangerous industry. We deal with heavy machinery, remote conditions and complex operations, and we all know that. Already this year, 2 people haven't come home, and 2 is too many. Behind each of those numbers is a family whose world has changed in an instant, and that's why Miners Promise matters. In the darkest moments, when everything stops, they step in. They are a steady hand for families navigating shock, grief and uncertainty. A quiet presence when it is needed most, a beacon in the dark. I started by saying this is a dangerous industry, but that's not where the story ends, because we don't accept it. We work every day to make this industry safer. We train, we invest, we push standards higher. For more than a century, through initiatives like CME's Mines Emergency Rescue Competitions, we've built a culture that treats safety as non-negotiable, and we'll keep doing that work, because the goal is simple. One day, no family should need Miners Promise, but until then, we absolutely stand behind them, and we make sure no family faces that moment alone. Before I conclude, I'd like to recognise the fact that Miners Promise has 2 passionate patrons in Minister Madeleine King and Senator Susan McDonald. As you would all know, patrons of any charity play a vital role as champions of its work, increasing its visibility and lengthening its outreach. Together, Minister King and Senator McDonald play a vital role in amplifying the mission of Miners Promise and raising awareness of the far-reaching work needed to support families during the most challenging of times. Minister King would have been here tonight, but unfortunately was called away on urgent business. Additionally, there's a video we'll see a little later from Senator McDonald addressing the Senate during Minerals Week. Thank you very much for being here. It's an honour to have you here and to play the role that we play in supporting the terrific and wonderful and so critically important work that Miners Promise does. And so with that, I'm going to hand over to Miners Promise Executive Director Debbie Morrow. Thank you.
I'd like to acknowledge our co-founders, Helen Fitzroy and Ian Fletcher, as we stand here tonight in our 15th year. Ian is with us in the room. I know many of you know Ian, and Helen sends her fond regards from Queensland and wishes us all a lovely night tonight. To our current and past directors, thank you for being here with us, and thank you for everything that you've done to get the charity to where we are today. To our Promise partners and peak industry body representatives, thank you for all that you do for us. Without you, we wouldn't be here. And colleagues, guests and friends, thank you. This is our inaugural Impact Report, and what a wonderful way to launch it with all of you in the room with us tonight. As Aaron mentioned, we have apologies and best wishes from both Minister King and also Senator McDonald and Minister Michael. And their support across the national spectrum and also here in WA is really helping to legitimise us and increase our brand awareness, which is exactly what we needed to do in the past wee while. So the challenges that we face, Aaron mentioned 2 fatalities already. That's in WA. This year alone, we've had 6 fatalities, 6 to date nationally. Last year, we had 8 in the year. We are here because families need us. 26 fatalities in 3 years, and the numbers at the start of this year are the worst that any of us can ever remember. In addition to that, we walk with families who are suffering from life-changing injuries, crisis and trauma, and also suicide. We're here where others aren't. We're here when families need us the most. It's not sad, it's a role that we do with privilege and honour and deep respect for the families that we walk with. And we walk with them for as long as they need us. And when I talk about the families that we worked with last year, you'll see that we have enduring relationships with them going for many, many years as families go through grief and recovery and hope, but also the regulatory processes that follow, particularly workplace accidents. So we're here with compassion, care and connection. And last year you would have seen that we relaunched our brand, and we think that helped synchronise our messaging and has really helped us reach out to a lot more people across the industry and also the industry bodies that we've got in the room with us tonight. Every family that we support is unique. And another key difference between us and other support is that we are here for the long haul, and our support is tailored for every individual circumstance. Every family is unique, be them from here or anywhere else around Australia. We provide our support face-to-face, we provide it virtually, we provide standing together groups where we bring families together to support each other. We do it mainly from a WA base, but we're very, very proud of our Australia-wide representation. Our purpose and our promise. I mentioned that we redid our brand last year. That was a big commitment by our board to invest in doing a brand refresh. Every dollar that we have, we want to invest in families, and to say that we run on the smell of an oily rag is an understatement. I am going to explain to you tonight a lot of our Promise partners and the pro bono and financial support that they've given us through last year enabled us to do what we do. We have a very small team, which I'm going to introduce in a minute. What I'd like to do as I go through the presentation, rather than listing out all of our partners at the end, I'm going to pepper my speaking notes with them. And what I'd like to do when I talk about our purpose and our promise is talk about 2 organisations that enable us to do what we do. The first one is BSS Psychology. We partnered with BSS and Griffin Psychology last year, and they do 2 amazing things for us and our families. When our families need clinical care or when our team need backup, we can now refer our families direct for clinical support across Australia. That is a huge step up in the support that we can provide, which is in addition to our internal counselling team. The other thing that the beautiful people at BSS Psychology do is they care for us. They care for the 4 of us in our team that work with our families, work with first responders, work with co-workers. They are the ones that make sure that we're okay when we're helping everyone else. This is a 24/7 job, and we all do it with love and with gratitude, but to have BSS making sure that we're okay is absolutely critical. So to Dan Simpson and the BSS and Griffin Psychology teams, heartfelt thank you for what you do for us and for our families. Another long-term partner that I'd like to mention is Vitalis Legal. So Vitalis have been with us for about 10 years now, and what Vitalis do is provide the critical estate support work when our families need it, particularly post-workplace tragedy. I always get on my soapbox, and I am actually standing on a stage tonight. So most of our families that suffer a workplace tragedy have a loved one who dies interstate, which means they die without estate planning and wills in place. The heartache that leaves behind, I cannot describe in enough words tonight. So Vitalis Legal are there wrapping their arms around our families when they need it most. For any of you in the room that don't have your estate in order, please take away from tonight, go and do it. It is a gift for your family. It is not something to ignore and avoid, because if something happens, not at work even necessarily, if anything happens, your family is cared for by your kindness if you've done that in advance. So, to Migère and the Vitalis Legal team, thank you for your compassionate care of our families when they need you. Sorry, I keep looking at Andrea she's the clicker. I thought I'm doing too much talking to be clicking as well. Look, last year was a magnificent year. We're going to run through some of the highlights, and we'll obviously focus on the care that we provided. But as a board, and I commend our entire board. We've been pretty courageous in the past wee while. We've invested in the charity to make sure that we've got a sustainable future because families across Australia need us. And in doing that, we've invested in a few things last year. So we relaunched our strategy. We came up with a new way of partnering across industry. We redid our brand, we redid our website. We very, very excitingly partnered with ACT and launched The Gift, which is an industrial theatre event which tells the story of Miners Promise and the people that we serve in an innovative and safe way, talking about a subject matter that is really, really difficult. The Gift has been launched in WA and has been shown a few times, and we are working very hard for an East Coast roadshow, so watch out for that, everybody. It's going to be amazing. Minister King and Senator McDonald, as Aaron mentioned, what amazing ambassadors for our industry. So obviously Minister King is the Minister for Resources in Northern Australia and Senator McDonald is the Shadow Minister. When we approached both Madeline and Susan to become patrons of our charity, I hadn't even finished the sentence before they both said yes. It was almost like, why didn't you ask us before? They have both been brilliant in their support of us and we are so deeply grateful for all that they do. Minister Michael, thank you very much, particularly at the Business News event recently where you gave Miners Promise a shout out. To anyone that was in the audience, thank you for giving a cheer when Minister Michael did mention us. That was very well appreciated. And to Sally North, unfortunately couldn't be with us tonight, but the WA WorkSafe Commissioner was hugely supportive last year, particularly supporting us when we launched The Gift by being on our panel. I would like to now thank another one of our amazing Promise partners, Corporate Affairs Australia. I can see some of you. Yes, Simon, Tim and Renee. From oil and gas to potash to renewables to Miners Promise, you're everywhere with me and it is an absolute honour to work with you. I love working with you and what you do across our sector is absolutely brilliant. Your pro bono support of us has been integral to securing Minister King, Senator McDonald, Minister Michael and Sally North's support. And what I would like to do is ask the absolutely amazing Samantha Panica, please, from Corporate Affairs Australia to come up to the stage. Corporate Affairs Australia, and I've known Sam for a number of years now through our day jobs. Sam has been the brains behind all of this in terms of securing us the government support that we needed. Sam, your strategic thinking in approaching all of the ministers' offices, the way that you've communicated with the officers, you've organised for all of these people to be at our events, you've supported me in all of my engagements with them. We make a pretty good team, I must admit, I think on the advocacy front. I have learnt so much from you and I deeply appreciate all your support both personally and professionally. So thank you so much. All right, clicker. Maybe I should have taken the clicker myself.
Sorry.
I love Andrew, we love each other, it's all good. Right, I'm now going to get on to a little bit of the more serious part of tonight and really talk about the impact that Miners Promise had in 2025 and focusing on the people that we're here to serve. What I would like to do before I go into all of that is welcome up our team. I'd like you to see their faces and know who they are before I talk about our impact because I think that's actually more impactful. So Andrea Ruffles, our operations lead. If you can join me up here, please. Janine Mairata, our family support lead. Now, I've been on the board a while, but I started working with these two amazing ladies in March last year. And until December, when Kim Holland, Kim, can you please join us as well? Kim Holland joined us in December last year as a family support advisor. So for most of last year, it was Andrea and Janine and I all part-time. And this is not a part-time job, it is a 24/7 job. Every call, every text, every harebrained idea that Deb had, there was never a it's too hard or no or I'm not answering the phone. We've laughed together, we've cried together, we've sworn together. We might have had a glass of wine or two or gin and tonic together. And we're not colleagues, we're now lifelong friends. You don't do this job because you don't love it and you don't do it without a huge amount of hope and care and compassion. And these three ladies are absolutely amazing. They are the backbone of Miners Promise. They are inspiring every day. I love working with them and it's a great honour and privilege. So to the ladies who run Miners Promise. Thank you. 41 families. You know, you might go to some impact report events and there's all big numbers of 20,000 this and 10,000 that. 41 families, over 150 people cared for by those three ladies that you've just met. 24/7 all through last year. No phone call unanswered, no email unanswered, no text message from a family, no matter what time of the day or night it was. We don't take bookings, you don't come to our office and have a counselling session. We respond when you need us every day of the week. And that's another reason that we are so special in the care that we provide. Across Australia, we're very proud that we've expanded more expansively across Australia, and we're proud that our partnerships and relationships have strengthened across every state of Australia. So go back one.
Oh.
Now we're clicking too quickly. While we do remain predominantly WA based, and that is driven by the fact that our family care program and our membership model, our My Promise system, is much broader known in WA, we did support all of the fatality cases last year across Australia. We also supported suicide cases across Australia and life-changing injuries across Australia. And what we're going to do now is share some of those impact stories in their words. We're going to start with Aaron Lorne. If Aaron would like to join me up on the stage. Aaron is the son of Jimmy and Sharon Lorne. Jimmy very sadly passed away, we were talking about it earlier, in 2017. And it feels like yesterday and it feels like it was a long time ago. The reason that it's so special having Aaron with us tonight is that it shows the absolute enduring nature of the relationship we have with our families, because we are still involved with the Lorne family today. I'd like to especially thank Aaron for nominating us last year for the CBA Community Grant, which we won, and we wouldn't have done that without Aaron nominating us. So that $20,000 had a significant impact on us last year and enabling us to refresh and upgrade all of the support material that we have for our families. So thank you to Aaron for doing that, and I'm just going to hand over. Aaron's just going to share some words and reflections on the Lorne family experience in working with Midas Promise.
Sure. A couple of minutes. I'm not sure.
As long as you like.
Not sure I needed this stage. But a topical aspect there, you mentioned his dying intestate. I had convinced my parents after, I reckon, a year of nagging, like, you need to make this appointment. They finally made the appointment, and then unfortunately, weren't around to see it. So, yes, if you haven't, sort that out. A bit of context from myself. 2017, my dad passed away very unexpectedly, and Midas Promise were incredible. So, to hear Commonwealth Bank, I work for Commonwealth Bank, we had one community grant years ago granted, and it was $500, and I went, oh, that's nice, but it's a good start. So to have 20 grand last year was amazing after a couple of years of nominations, and well done to the team for putting forward such a case, because as much as I can put it in writing, it's a credit to the organisation, and amazing to hear that have expanded to national presence. A little bit of context, my dad, I grew up in Kalgoorlie, so obviously heavily mining and resource related. Dad worked in the mines there, butcher by trade, but as is the case, you go on the mines, pays more. When they moved from Kalgoorlie to Mount Barker, so sort of, I think, one middle of nowhere to another middle of nowhere, he decided to stay working there. So essentially drive in about 4 or 5 hours on a sort of dirt corrugated road through the middle of WA, work 4 days, 4 nights, and then at the end of 4 nights would drive back and usually chop some wood on the way, which was interesting. I always feared something might happen to him in the middle of nowhere or with a chainsaw after night shift, but no, it didn't, which was nice. But I guess that's the context. And one day I got a call where he'd gone up, he was working, he'd gone to bed, spoke with mum that night. They said, exchange I love yous, which was great, and he just never woke up, unfortunately. Had a heart attack at the age of 53, very, very unexpected. So to get a call 6 a.m. in the morning from your mum with that sort of news was you don't forget that. And then hearing my younger brother and sister being told over the phone they were with mum was very not great. Then driving 4 hours down from here to Mount Barker to pick mum up, who was in no state, obviously. Then drive 4 or 5 hours through what I learnt was a horrible road through to Kalgoorlie. We got to see him that night, but certainly I think the front of the report says the best possible care in the toughest times. It certainly is, the toughest times that you don't see coming. Mum very much appointed me to be the contact. Don't want to speak to anyone. She said, no, look, I just can't deal with it. But a huge credit to Janine, who was up here before. After speaking with her once or twice the day after we got to Kalgoorlie, the understanding, the empathy, really knowing what we were going through was being beneficial to me. So it's funny, Janine actually remembers it, but I had to wrestle Mum's arm basically to get the phone to her to say, no, you really need to speak to Janine. This is a really powerful organisation. She's been incredible, and since that point, obviously the emotional side, I think she's really connected, and that ongoing nature you talked about, she still attends meetings, which is great. The emotional support is certainly one thing. Financially, I think I was a bit naive I was a bit younger back then, 7 years ago, but I was naive thinking, Mum and Dad were in a pretty good financial place, but they were, as many may be, living literally pay to pay. So when they then sort of had to work through, right, we need to stay in Kalgoorlie. Don't know if anyone's tried to book a hotel in Kalgoorlie recently, but there are none, especially not for a family. And then when we needed to extend that, we found a property that was in the street we grew up on, which felt serendipitous, but the cost was a little bit prohibitive for them. And Miners Promise came to the party and said, no, look, that's, we'll help out with that, which was really critical to, in that time, for them to be able to stay there, work out funeral arrangements. Family members were coming and going. There was a car provided, which was again super helpful for getting around. And I think they even offered to fly Mum back home if she needed to, but she was very happy to drive home eventually. Being Christmas, it was December, there was a sort of added layer with that, but the support provided financially to literally the funeral arrangements might have been very different without Miners Promise. It was an organisation I hadn't heard of before. Dad was notoriously bad with paperwork or anything like that, as I found out working through life insurance policies and all those fun things. Dying intestate, it's not bad when there's no disputes between kids or anything like that. That would have been a lot harder should there have been. So certainly sort that out. But as I say, Miners Promise, the support they provided, the whole family, both initially, ongoing, financially and emotionally, it was amazing. So I'm lucky enough to deal with quite a few ASX listed companies with CEOs or CFOs, and speak to them and trying to highlight the importance of it. To hear, those numbers are 41 families across the country impacted deeply from various situations. It's, while I feel almost lucky to have met Janine and have that support, obviously would have preferred not to, but it is amazing to know that the industry has this type of thing available. So credit to, didn't realise it was such a small team, so credit to your part-timers by the sounds of it. Sounds like a bit of work on the clicker to work through, but other than that, the impact the impact is obviously profound. So well done on a small team, and I think that's everything from me.
Some feedback from Jamie Seed, who's the Managing Director of Challenge Drilling. Some of you in the room may know Jamie. My company had a catastrophic incident at one of our drill sites in December 2024. Prior to this event, I was aware of Miners Promise, though not across what they really offered. Over the course of the following months, I became very familiar with their operation and was quite amazed at the comprehensiveness of the services provided. Not only did they provide a high level of support to family members in particular, but also to workmates and associates. I think the organisation is quite unique in this respect. Most businesses have thankfully very limited experience when it comes to catastrophic events, thus having the guidance from an organisation such as Miners Promise is invaluable. Everyone hopes they never need this level of support. However, unfortunately, tragic events do occur. Therefore, to ensure the support of Miners Promise is there when needed, industry across the board should be looking at making financial contribution either individually or at a business level, or through industry bodies, or both. Jamie Seed, Managing Director, Challenge Drilling. I met, and I will talk a little bit more about ADIA later, but the first time I met Jeff Miller from ADIA, he said to me, "Have you met Jamie from Challenge?" And I said, "No, I haven't, but I'd love to." And Jeff connected us, and Jamie and I got into a habit of having a coffee once a month last year. And watching him as the business owner going through the processes post-tragic event that he had on his drill rig, and actually then also being able to engage with the guys that worked with Pete Groves, who passed away. And for those of you that please take the impact report when you leave tonight, you'll read the amazing story of Candice, partner of Pete. They were going through IVF at the time that Pete passed away. And post Pete passing, I'm very, very pleased to say that Candice is now pregnant with their baby. She's about 30 weeks, and Janine has walked with Candice through not just the loss and grief of losing Pete, but now the beautiful hope and miracle. I was about to say the baby's name, which I won't. The beautiful hope and gift that Candice is now carrying in her heart and her stomach, actually, at the moment, with Pete's baby about to be born next month. So it's amazing. We might have Candice and baby, I won't say the name here, next year. That would be amazing. You can all meet Candice. When we talk about our statistics, we talk about people. And one of the things that we've been really conscious of doing in the past year or so is saying their names. Every time I read out these names, I get emotional, and I'm going to read out a tribute from a mum in a minute, so that is always quite emotional. But last year, we did support 22 families who had suffered workplace loss. 8 of those families lost their loved ones in the calendar year last year. And I'm just going to read out their names for you. Troy Grock, South Australia. Carl Stanley, Western Australia. Jason Kim, Western Australia. Holly Clark, New South Wales. Ambrose McMullen, New South Wales. Jack McGrath, New South Wales. Alan Ross, Victoria. And Hayden Hadlow, Western Australia. It's an honour to walk with those families, and I'm going to share a little bit more of some of their stories in the next few minutes. To the 2 families impacted by life-changing injury, Eugene Wirahana and Mackenzie Sterling, I'd like to specifically call out Eugene and Mackenzie. The grace and humility that they have shown in the face of absolute adversity following workplace accident is inspiring. They are so grateful and so appreciative of everything that Miners Promise and the people across our sector have done to support them. It is every morning you wake up and you think, how lucky am I and how inspiring are they? Eugene and Mackenzie have a long journey ahead with their recovery, and they will never actually be fully recovered to the way they were before their accidents. To be able to support them and their families as they navigate their recovery processes is a journey that is actually as beneficial for us as humans as the care that we provide to them. They're amazing, and it's a humbling and inspiring experience. To the families we supported that followed workplace suicide last year, this was new for Miners Promise, and as a board we debated at length whether we should be supporting families post-suicide. To the 4 families that came to us because they knew us through our network, we are there to provide the full wraparound support as we do for all of our families. Across our family care program and our My Promise membership program, we support another 8 and 5 families. So 41 families in total, more than double 2024. Now I'm going to read out a letter from Carl's mum, and apologies if I do get emotional. So this is a letter from Carl's mum that she wrote for us to read out at the Kalgoorlie engraving ceremony earlier this year. So once a year in Kalgoorlie there's a ceremony where the names of those that we've lost in the past 12 months are engraved on the memorial wall at Kalgoorlie. Some of you may be familiar with where that is. So a letter from Carl's mum, Lisa. I would like to start by thanking everyone for being here today to listen to my tribute to my son Carl Stanley, who was tragically killed in a workplace incident on the 21st of August 2025. I would like to thank Miners Promise, who did everything in their power to get me here today, but sadly it wasn't meant to be. I like to think it was Carl letting me know that it wasn't the right time. With the help of Janine and Debbie, I've made the choice of visiting this site privately in the future with my daughter to honour my son. Whilst I'm honoured that my son will be remembered for all time at this memorial, it fills me with anguish and heartbreak to know that his name will be placed here with those that have lost their lives before him and for those that have lost their lives after him. Everybody deserves the right to come home from work safely. I would not wish this pain upon any mother or family member. The longing I have to see, hear and touch my son is simply unbearable. It is something that I think will never go away. I'm surrounded by his things every day, and I'm not sure if that's great or not, but I know that I need it. For my son Kyle, I know that he would have fought hard to stay here with his family. He was everything to us. Even though he grumbled at servicing our cars when he was home on his break, I would grumble right back that I had to cut his hair after work. His hair looks pretty good, doesn't it, Kyle's hair? A good-looking chap, our Kyle. I would do anything to be able to cut his hair again, and I promise I would never complain. I hope that wherever my son is, that he is waiting for me to come to him when it's my time, so I can once again have him as my child, because in this lifetime it wasn't enough. Originally, this was where my letter ended. I rang my daughter and brother and read them what I wrote. We were all crying. I had to take a breath, a moment. So I went outside in the dark, looking up at the sky, hoping to see a shooting star. And then a dragonfly appeared, just fluttering around. I watched it for about 15 minutes before it flew away, and I thought, surely that must mean something. So I came inside and Googled, what does it mean when a dragonfly visits you at night? There are many wonderful reasons for a visit, but the one that resonated the most with me was this. Many believe a dragonfly, especially at night, represents a visit from a loved one in spirit, providing comfort, peace, and reassurance that they are near. This is what I needed. Thank you, my son. It has now been 6 months without you. Thank you for listening from Kyle's mum, Lisa, and Kyle's sister, Brooke. I met Lisa and Brooke and the whole family a few days after Kyle passed away. They live in Brisbane and I happened to be there for work. And I rang Janine and I said, look, I'm not good at this, I'm not qualified at this, but I'm here. And if you'd like me to go and visit the family, I will. And Janine, you said the most beautiful thing to me. You said, Deb, I trust you. You've got compassion and care. Go and hold the family. And I hadn't engaged with our families before, and meeting Lisa and the extended family so soon after Kyle's passing is something that will never leave me. Lisa is now a dear friend, and when Lisa and Brooke do come over to go to the Kalgoorlie Memorial, Janine and I will be there with them. We learnt a lot last year. It was a year of growth for us as a charity. I will also say, personally, it was a bit of a year of frustration because I'll be honest, I thought that gaining industry support and partnerships for the charity would be easier than it's turned out to be. But we're needed more than most, ever. This year alone, as I mentioned, we've had 6 fatalities across Australia. That is almost the equivalent of the past individual 3 years in less than 4 months. What we have learned significantly over the past 12 months is that earlier that we can be there, the better. And actually, if we can partner in advance and integrate into response procedures ahead of tragedy occurring, we can make the outcome for the family, the co-workers and the employers so much better. The earlier we're there, the better care we can provide. We have had examples over the past few months where our phone has rung within a couple of hours of an accident happening. We've been contacted before the family so that we can support the family from the moment of notification. In those cases, we can have the biggest impact. For the employers who have partnered with us, who have now ensured that they have trauma-informed response in their emergency response procedures. For the employers who've had the faith and the trust to answer my text messages a few hours after an accident from someone they've never met before, to call me back and say, Deb, I don't know anything about Miners Promise, but it sounds like we might need you. To all of those employers who had that courage and that trust, thank you, because it means that we can support your families. There's a couple of guys in the room tonight who I promised I wouldn't name, so I won't, but there's a couple of absolute legends in this room tonight who over the past month have shown the absolute best-in-class response that I have seen by an employer in all of my years with Miners Promise. If you have compassion and care and love, and that's what you focus on post-tragedy, and we deal with everything else with you, then your families get the best care. And for any of you in the industry, I have a bit of a tagline that I've been saying a lot over the past 12 months to employers and mine site owner-operators. There is always a place for compassion and care. Don't think about culpability. And so many of our employers get quite panicked when the worst happens, because all of a sudden there's lawyers and there's people telling them what to do and what they can't do and who to talk to and who not to talk to. For those in the industry that know that care and compassion always has a place, those families get the best support right from the moment they need it. So thank you to all of the employers that have responded to us in the times of need. To those that we haven't yet managed to connect with the families, they will all soon realise how tenacious I am and I don't give up, and we are hopeful to get the remainder of the 2026 families under our care as soon as we can. I've got a few more thank yous to get through. Oh, Susan McDonald, what an amazing lady. David here is from MCA, and I'm going to say a special thank you to MCA in a moment, but I was very, very lucky, thank you Mineral Council Australia, for giving us a complimentary ticket to attend Minerals Week this week in Canberra. It was an amazing week. It was professionally and personally inspiring, and one of the great things about being in Canberra is we got to see both Minister King and Senator McDonald. I bumped into Susan at the big gala night on the Monday night, and we had a great chat, and then on the Tuesday morning her Chief of Staff rang me and said, "Deb, how long would it take you to knock up a 2-minute speech?" And I said, "Oh, how quick do you need it?" Not every day we get talked about on the Senate floor. We all had a pretty proud moment, and Sam was showing me I was at Minerals Week and I was clearly paying much attention to the speakers, except for looking at my phone when Sam was sending me the live stream of Senator McDonald in the Senate. Our partnership's at the heart of everything we do, and I mentioned a moment ago some of my personal frustration about how it's taken me longer than I had thought it would to generate industry partnerships. But what I did learn last year was that the support from around our industry is absolutely magnificent and wonderful, and we raised 3 times more money last year as a charity than we did the year before, and that was without me hitting my targets around the industry partnership. So I promise Board I'm onto the targets this year. Partnership of Care, Family Care Program, our Promise Partners and our My Promise program. We have a variety of ways for industry to partner with us. We've learnt actually through last year, and I'm going to talk about our relationship with AMEC in a moment and how we're looking to now evolve some of those processes. But without our partners, we wouldn't be here. We do spend every dollar we possibly can on our families. Did my microphone just go off?
Yes, put it closer to your face, too.
I think it actually went, I don't think I kicked something. Can everyone hear me anyway?
Yes.
All right, we'll carry on. Because I've got all these special thank yous to do next, so we don't want to miss out on them. So last year, as I mentioned, we raised 3 times as much money as we did in the previous year, and I'd like to do some specific call-outs to some of the amazing organisations who financially supported us last year. So Macateece and MMG, both of these groups provided us with $150,000 donations after we supported their families following workplace tragedy. So Gary Mitchell and Trevor and Dylan, our amazing Queensland families, not only have Maca and Thies and MMG supported us financially, the care that they have provided to their families has been absolute best in class. And the example I'll give you is that last week my phone rang and it was MMG. And they were ringing to say, "Deb, we just wanted to let you know that it's Trevor's 40th birthday today. And we've put a can of Beam and Cola on his memorial on site, and we've taken a photo of it." And Susan's laughing because we actually used this anecdote in the gift, our play. Trevor's 40th birthday, we've put the can of Beam and Coke up on his memorial. We've taken a photo at pre-start. Can you please share it with the family? That's 3 years after Trevor passed. That is just heartwarming to know that that is the kind of care that they are still showing the site team and the co-workers and the colleagues and the family of Trevor in particular. To Ostmine, to WA School of Mines, and to Dirty Hole Designs, who I'd like to do an express shout out to. Steve Posnick, wow, having you as a friend, how lucky am I? What you do for our industry across Australia with your campaigning and your fundraising is truly amazing. To Bonnie and Bonnie's mum as well. Last year, Pos did a bespoke design for our Cobar families and did a fundraiser. Raised over $70,000 selling Cobar merchandise for our families, and that was spread across both the 2 bereaved families and Mackenzie, the survivor. This year, POS has launched another initiative, which some of you might have seen on the way in. I'm sure most people in this room drink coffee, so you would all need some bags of coffee beans. So POS has a bespoke coffee bean that's been brewed just for Miners Promise. Deal's open to the 21st of April. You can get the details at the front door. Please buy some bags of coffee. All of the proceeds are coming to Miners Promise. To WA Mining Club, and we've got our representatives here in the front room. WA Mining Club, we had a relationship, we sort of had a relationship, and now we have an amazing relationship. And to thank the team, to Jordan, Barry and Rob particularly, and also to Cass and her beautiful son Joshua, who couldn't be with us tonight. All of them are unavailable to be here. What the WA Mining Club did for us last year in terms of increasing brand awareness and our reach is, I can't overstate it enough. Every ticket sold to every event that the WA Mining Club host in their luncheon series, a contribution comes to us. Every single ticket that is sold. It is absolutely amazing. And at every lunch, we are mentioned. So everyone who comes to that room hears about Miners Promise every month. At the St Barb's Day Luncheon, the biggest event that WA Mining Club hold, we get significant proceeds from the charity auction. This year, for the first time, Andrea and Josh Collins, I'm going to mention you in a minute, spent a day on a tee box at the golfing event, and we raised another $7,500 through the very generous WA Mining Club community. So to WA Mining Club, thank you. We love having you as one of our partners, and we really appreciate everything that you do for us. To the Australian Drilling Industry Association, and Jeff in particular, I got a delightful invite from Jeff last year to attend their Christmas and awards night, which was lovely. And he said, "Oh, and look, just let you know in advance, Deb, we're going to give you a $5,000 donation." I was like, that's, $5,000 means a lot. It was really, really appreciated. Then we got there on the night, and I don't know, Chrissy, the amazing MC of the evening, took control of the situation and decided that we could raise more money than $5,000. And I left with my little handbag at the end of the night with all business cards and slips of paper in it, with donations for $40,000. So no pressure, Jeff, but that was unplanned, and I had a 2-minute speech. So when we actually do it this year, we're expecting really big things. And absolute last, but definitely not least, our principal partner, Argonaut. And there's a few Argonauters in the room tonight. We are in our second 3-year relationship with Argonaut, and the financial sustainability that they provide to us through that 3-year partnership can't be underestimated. But I'd like to really call out in particular everything else that Argonaut do for us, because while they're on our website as our principal partner, and while it says roughly how much money that might mean to us, what Argonaut do for us has gone way beyond that. I'm going to start with Cobar. So when we had the multiple fatality event in Cobar last year, we reached out and connected with the 2 bereaved families and Mackenzie, the sole survivor, who I've already mentioned. It's unusual for us to jump on a plane and go and support families, but in this case, because there was 3 families, we really wanted to, and I had become quite engaged with the site team and the board of Endeavour as well. And again, we looked at ourselves, should we spend this money? We should be saving this money for the families. Argonaut hosted an event for us, and we raised the money to fund the trip. And Janine and I spent a week in Cobar, which was life-changing for me, certainly, where we spent time with both of the bereaved families, Mackenzie, the survivor, and I spent time on site as well with the site leadership and the board. That trip, and being able to do it without worrying about the money that we were spending versus having that in the kitty for families, was a gift from Argonaut. At Christmas last year, the Argonauters very, very, very kindly donated money, and for the first time in our history, we were able to provide a beautiful gift to the children and grandchildren who had lost their loved ones in the last 3 years. For our families to receive something like that from us, to say that we were thinking of them and that they were in our hearts, particularly at that time of year, meant the world to those children and the grandchildren, and that was gifted by Argonaut. This year, 2 weeks today actually, Janine and I will be in Brisbane, and we're going to be hosting for the first time ever on the East Coast our Standing Together event, where we bring our families together in a support group. We've never done it on the East Coast before, one, because of number of families, but mainly because of geographical distribution. Where do you choose? How do you get them all together? Queensland and New South Wales alone are massive states, as you guys know. But we went out to our families and we said, if we organise something, will you attend? As of tonight, we have 20 family members travelling to Brisbane from Mackay to Cobar to come together and support each other in 2 weeks' time. Again, putting this on was not a decision we made lightly. As you guys all know, the cost of fuel at the moment, the cost of flights at the moment, we said to our families, we can give you $500 each to help you get there, but sadly we can't afford to pay, all of your expenses. Not everyone has taken us up on the $500 because they want us to have that money for other families in need, but we have 20 people travelling to come together. Eddie rang me last week, one of the best calls I've had in a while, Eddie, and said, Deb, I've got a problem. I've got some spare money. Do you need it? Now, my business card's at the back of the room. If any of you else wants to ring me with that question, I'm all ears. And I said to Eddie, I love when you ring me, Eddie. And yes, actually, we're hosting this event in Queensland, and while Miners Promise, we'd already agreed as a board and as a group to fund it, Argonaut are now funding that event for us, including Janine and I's travel, the venue, the catering, and our families attending. And looking to the future. This year we're focusing again on our partnerships. To keep supporting the families that we do with the quality of care that we provide, we need to be financially sustainable, and that means we need to continue to grow our brand awareness, grow our connections and grow our industry support. Taking the gift on an East Coast tour, which I'm fingers crossed soon we'll be able to announce, is going to be an amazing part of that. Another very, very exciting announcement that we have is that at the Queensland Mining Industry Health and Safety Conference in August, which is the largest health and safety conference in Australia, we're the nominated charity partner. This is a huge breakthrough for us in Queensland. We've supported Queensland families for years. We are not known in Queensland. So for us to be the charity partner at that conference is genuinely going to be game-changing, with 12 to 1,400 health and safety professionals in the room at the conference. So we're very excited for that in August, and we really thank QRC and everyone on the committee for QMISHC for giving us that opportunity. We have new fundraising initiatives coming, and you will see about them. I'd like to launch the first one tonight, which is Pike River. For those of you that are in mining, you will know about the Pike River disaster in New Zealand. There's actually been a movie made about the Pike River disaster, and we're going to be hosting fundraising movie nights around Australia, where we'll be using the Pike River movie to share the story of Miners Promise. And I'm really pleased to announce at the same time that Jo Ufer, who's one of the mums who lost her son in the Pike River disaster, is not only joining us as an ambassador, which is going to be amazing, she's also going to come to those movie nights with the support of her employer and open those movie nights and talk about her personal experience of losing Joshua in the Pike River disaster. So you'll get an email about that soon, and hopefully you can all join us at that movie night. So this year, we're going to be pushing partnering in advance. We've got a pretty bold vision. We should be in every single emergency response procedure across Australia's mining, energy and resources sites. Because if we're in your procedures and you have our trauma-informed care built into your practices, if you engage with us about response readiness, then you and your families will absolutely get the best possible care in the toughest of times. Communication. Hopefully you noticed that we did a lot of it last year. Well, this year we're upping the ante. To Josh Collins and the Gold Room podcast, which, by the way, if you haven't subscribed, I'm doing my job, Josh, get on there and subscribe. The Gold Room podcast is amazing. Josh rang me earlier this year and said, I will actually say what he said. He said, "Deb, you don't look bad on camera. So how about," I thought he was going to say I had a face for radio. How about you do a series of podcasts specific for Miners Promise? I'll donate everything. Josh, thank you. It is a new method of communication for us. I do think my face is better suited for radio, but we're giving podcasting a go, and I didn't think I'd be a podcaster, but here we are. We released our first podcast in February, and actually it was with Vitalis and Janine talking about estate planning and succession planning and the importance of having that. So if you haven't watched that podcast, that's our first one. Our second one is going to be released in the next couple of weeks. Thank you, Reg, who's here, who's waiting on my final edits on that. It's really, really hard watching yourself though, Reg, to then actually go and do the edits. That is the beautiful story of one of our bereaved widows, Robina Haynes. When that comes out, make yourself a cuppa or pour yourself something stronger and listen to her beautiful story of her and her 3 children after losing their beloved Nige. I mentioned the difficulty in industry partnerships. Well, AMEC, thank you, Warren and team, you've come to the party. We've launched recently, and we'll be doing a lot more of this once we can get this Iran war and fuel crisis behind us, and Warren's got a bit of capacity back. Warren, you've been amazing in the advocacy for all of that on behalf of our industry. We've launched a member-to-member offer to AMEC members, and we're hoping to have a similar model across other industry bodies. What that means is that if you're a member of AMEC, you can become a member of Miners Promise at a very, very cost-effective rate, and you get access to our full suite of services. So family care program, partnership of care services, My Promise, and everything else that we do. So by partnering with the industry bodies and reaching out to industry that way, you are amplifying for part-time people with great effect and great impact. So thank you, Warren. You've been a very, very strong supporter since we approached you last year. I mentioned MCA briefly before and the amazing time we had at Minerals Week. For those of you in the room that were at Minerals Week, how strong was Team WA? We were very, very strong in the room. Mineral Council, Dave, you've always been a huge supporter. You and Fletch go back a long way. One of my favourite experiences last year was going out and having a great night out with Dave and Ian. What MCA have done for us is brought us to the national stage. It is enabling us to be mingling in a room where we would never normally have access, and for that we are so grateful. Earlier this year, we went to the Victorians Mine Rescue, which was amazing, and we've been at Minerals Week. And the team in Canberra, when I met with them when I was there for Minerals Week, have now come up with a whole range of other ideas of how they can help support us going through the second half of this year. And I'm very excited to be working with Simon and Carolina at MCA. So thank you, David. And CME, we talked a little bit about the Surface Mines Rescue. We are very excited. Our first year will be at the Surface Mines Rescue in Kalgoorlie from the 1st to the 3rd of May. So engaging with all of the participants, engaging with everyone that's there. Lewis from our board will be representing us over those 3 days. So thank you, Lewis, for doing that too. When tragedy strikes, we're here. And we're here for as long as families need us. But we need you, and we need continued industry support. I'd like to wrap up by thanking my fellow directors for being the amazing board that you are, and personally for giving me the opportunity to step into the ED role in March last year for Miners Promise. It's changed my life trajectory, and I don't say that lightly. Everyone that works with me in my other multiple roles knows that Miners Promise is my absolute favourite, and everything else gets dropped whenever Miners Promise is needed. And it is, as I said, it's 24/7, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I'd like to do a personal thank you. Unfortunately, my son and my parents couldn't be here tonight, but I'd like to thank Charlie, who's my 14-year-old. You know, life is so precious, and working with Miners Promise reminds you of that every day. Don't waste a moment, tell people you love them, and make sure you hug your loved ones as much as you can. To my 14-year-old, who shows more empathy than some adults I know, says to me things like, "Mum, have you got that family yet? Mum, how lucky is that family to have Janine?" Those two legends I was talking about a moment ago, I got off the phone to one of them a couple of weeks ago, and maybe we'd been using maybe a little bit of mind-sight language in the phone call, which my son's used to. And I got off the phone and I was smiling, and he said, "Mum, that guy sounds like a legend." I said, "He is, mate, he is a legend." So just because he's 14 doesn't mean that he's not my strongest supporter, and for him to ask if we've got that family yet after tragedy, and to know the difference that we're making to families is pretty special. So thank you to my son for supporting me in all that I do, and to my parents. Thank you. This role has involved a lot more travel actually than I thought it would, and a lot more after-hours commitments. And as a single parent, I couldn't do it without my parents. And not only are they there to have my son whenever I need them to, they're there to give me a hug and let me cry when I kind of need to after some of the Miners Promise stuff as well. So to my parents for being my ultimate backup, thank you very much. So thank you again, everyone, for being here for the inaugural launch of our first impact report. It's wonderful to have you all in the room. Please make sure that you do get a hard copy on the way out, and also please grab a lapel pin and wear it with pride. I'd like to hand over now to Laura, the chair of our board, to wrap up the formalities.
All right, I've got notes though, because I'm not Deb. I can't freestyle like that. But look, thank you for being here. I'm in absolute awe of this room and the contributions of everybody in it. I'll take us on a little bit of a journey, but there's a few formalities I'd like to go through and just remind you of some of the points that Deb's talked to from a board perspective. So we talk about the impact report, so we're all here to see that, and please take a copy, as Deb said, on your way out. The best possible care in the toughest of times. And look, it is our tagline. We went through a marketing process to try and understand how we can reach industry while being sensitive to families and trying to get that pitch right. But most importantly, it's actually what our organisation does, and that's where we landed. Let's tell people what we do. Miners Promise shows up when things have gone seriously wrong. And we're not talking slightly wrong, as you've seen from today. We're talking life-changing wrong. So when there's been a fatality, serious injury, crisis, that turns a family's world absolutely upside down. And in those first moments, yes, we know we need processes, we need frameworks, we need risk management, we need lawyers. We know that, right? That's what we've got down pat. But what the people in the process don't need is more process. They need somebody who knows what to do. And that's where we come in. We take a bit of that weight. We help them get through the next hour, the next day, the next week. That's the family, that's the colleagues, that's the site leaders, and that's the wider community, because we know mining communities are a community. Everyone's impacted. Everybody feels it. And that's exactly what we do. So when you read the report, you will feel the stories. You don't just read them. And Deb's shared a few today. Their families, and we've heard from today, so thank you. Appreciate your sharing. Families who've lived this and their lives have been completely turned upside down. These are real people, real situations, and moments that don't come with a mining playbook. So what happens next is what this organisation does to make a difference. We sort things out when things feel impossible at the time. We navigate systems and for families that they don't have the capacity to deal with. We take pressure off wherever we can, and we hold space, as Deb described, for people whose whole world has stopped while the rest of the world keeps moving. 2025, 41 families supported across Australia, double the year before. And that's not something we celebrate, that's something we take extremely seriously. Because it tells you that what we do is needed now more than ever. It's continuing to grow, increasingly so. But I am going to take you back for a moment, because what you've seen today is one side of Miners Promise, but I want to take you a little bit back to where we were a couple of years ago. We had some very real, hard board conversations, and we've got previous board members in the room. I really appreciate you being here. We've got current board members in the room. And there's the contribution of people over 15 years that have made decisions to get to the organisation to where it is tonight. So it's not a success story in an instant. This has been a long-standing grind, as Deb has kind of alluded to. We've sat around the table and asked ourselves a difficult question. In 2024, 2 years ago, how much longer have we got? How much cash is left? And at what point do we close the doors? When are we making that call? We went through that a few times since I've been on the board, and I've been on the board for 5 years and chair is 3. We've got our previous chair here, Catherine, tonight. She was leading those very difficult conversations, and then I took over leading those difficult conversations. It was hard because we know that the need was there, but how could we close the doors? So we went on that for a while as the money continued to drain. So we decided to make a decision. It wasn't an easy decision, and we didn't know if it was going to work out. But we decided to give it one last push, and it had to be a red hot crack. That's what we agreed on. So we went all in. So this was either going to fail epically or it was going to work out. And obviously tonight, that's why I'm still taking a breath to see that it worked out. Look, we believe deeply that there was a need for our organisation, and the problem for us wasn't relevance, it was the reach. We didn't have connection with the industry that we needed, and Deb's talked through how we've navigated through that and the support of everyone in this room. So we had to change our approach. We had to take a good hard look at how we were operating as a board and as an organisation, not in operational delivery, that's never been compromised, but in terms of sustainability and how we were operating at that level. So we made a conscious decision to deepen our connection with industry. We made the decision to expand nationally. We were a WA-based organisation previously, and that was when I came in as chair, and thank you, Catherine, for the honour of doing that. It didn't sit right with me that someone could work for the same company in WA, but then work in Queensland and not be able to access the support. I moved around, I was a kid and moved around mining towns my whole life. So it didn't make sense that your mum or dad could work somewhere and you'd get support, but you couldn't somewhere else. So it really bothered me. So another part of that sustainability piece was we're going to need more money to support more people. So again, we had to go all in. So we expanded nationally, and then we started the difficult discussion as well, which Deb alluded to, of how do we support, or are we going to support families who've had a suicide event in their family. So that was also hotly debated, and in the end we decided we're going to go, what's our purpose? What are we here to do? It aligns with that, so let's go for it. And people are now being supported in that space, which we're very proud of. So these were all firsts for Miners Promise in the last 2 years, year to 2 years. So we had the deliberate choices to broaden and deepen our impact, and that takes funding. So thank you, heartfelt thank you to everyone in this room who's contributed towards that. It's money, it's resources, it's time, it's thought, it's advocacy. We really, really appreciate it because it's helping people the way we need to. I also want to say a big thank you to all the board members, past and present, because without all of your leadership and foresight and courage to do what we needed to do, you know, it was scary. I'm looking at a few of you in the eyes. It was scary at the time. You know, were we going to do the right thing? Were we going to collapse this charity, or were we going to revive it? So thank you for your courage, thank you for your persistence, and thank you for your belief in what could be. So the position we're in today is a direct result of that. And the reality is the need is not slowing down, it's growing. You've seen that today. Which means we're not going to take the foot off the pedal. We can't take the foot off the pedal. We need to continue to deepen our connection with industry. We need your support to build on that. There's more families, more communities, and more mining operators and operations who are going to need this, whether they expect it or not. So we have the privilege of stepping into people's lives at a time when everything feels uncertain, and the team brings compassion, clarity and connection. And they do the work. Where are we? The 4 ladies that we've seen up here today. They're heroes in my eyes, and they do the work that most people couldn't and most people wouldn't. But they do it. So I'm so grateful. I can't express that enough. So there's no version of Miners Promise without them. And look, we operate in an industry that's high performing, high pressure and high risk. We put a lot of effort into prevention, and we should. But when something goes wrong, and sometimes it will, and sometimes it's nobody's fault, it's what really matters is how we respond. And Miners Promise is critical to that response. Families shouldn't have to figure it out on their own, and nor should organisations. And there's a moment where in the moment where we questioned whether the organisation was going to continue to exist. Today, we know the answer. It does need to continue to exist, and that these people are not on their own. So that's our role as the board, and that's our responsibility, and we're not stepping back from it. So thank you everyone for being here. We're here because of you. We appreciate it. Thank you.